Peace to the gods and goddesses. Let's go over this one a little bit. Peace, peace, peace. So I'm gonna jump right onto it because I don't want to be on live long. So as the title says, you can be the wife of a happy husband. This is the book. I started reading this book because I realized that I really don't know how to be a wife. And in a sense that my husband needs me to be. Because everyone, if you're a wife, your husband is different from my husband. My husband is different from the next person's husband, all that. But this book really teaches you how to hone into your husband and to his particular needs. And it's like, we all grew up with the happy wife, happy life aspect. But in actuality, and then it became happy wife and husband and something else. But as I'm reading this book, and let me throw out there that the book is written in a more of a Christian faith mindset. So I had to, it was kind of interesting because they were talking about like relationships with Jesus Christ. And I just automatically read it as relationships with the soul. It was very interesting. But anyway, let me back up a little bit. Putting in, it's like we learn how to be wives from TV, and we may see our mothers through osmosis. We may see our mothers being a good wife, but a lot of us did not have the stay-at-home mom view. A lot of us, our mothers worked, our fathers worked, so it's like we didn't see what an actual good wife, a good husband looks like outside of freaking Family Matters. But since becoming married, I've realized that I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what a healthy marriage looks like. Even though my parents have I would say they have a healthy marriage, but I don't know what it took for them to get there because I'm their child. So I only was looking at the outside, like from the outside. I wasn't looking at the steps they were taking, all of that stuff. Because, you don't pay attention to that stuff when you're a kid. So just kind of, she really, like, the way she wrote this book, Darien Cooper, I'm not even sure if she's still alive, but she's an older woman, and she wrote the book from, like I said, from a Christian standpoint, but also from a more traditional woman actually being in their divine feminine standpoint. And it's like we've stepped out of, especially as women, we've stepped out of that divine role. And we've stepped into the role of competing with our husbands, competing with men. So no matter who the man is, with competing with them instead of completing with them. And she talks a lot in the book about completing your husband. But she's not talking about giving up your dreams. She's not talking about being his slave. She's talking about being his perfect mate. And that first starts with looking at the relationship you have with yourself, with your soul. If you don't have one, or even if you believe in God, look at the relationship you have with God, because the relationship that you have with yourself, with your soul, with God is going to reflect the relationship you have with your partner. And it's like doing shadow work. And it's kind of interesting now. I'm kind of just piecing that together as I'm looking at my notes. She's saying, look at the mirror and what is your reflection? And a truthful reflection, not how, oh yeah, I'm pretty, but no, how do you inherently treat people? Like, will people that are closest to you tell you that you treat them good? Will people closest to you tell you that you treat them respectfully? It's how do people closest to you feel? Where did I get that later? Feel you treat them. And it's not how you think you treat people, because a lot of times how we think we treat people is kind of bogus. Like we kind of are delusional with how we treat people. We can think we treat someone good when in actuality not. Competing with them versus completing with them. Yeah, that's something that it's like, I grew up, I have a brother, and it was me and my brother for a long time. I'm the oldest, and so it's like for a long time I competed with him, thinking that I had to compete with him. No one showed me differently. If I knew now what I knew then, I wouldn't be competing with him. I would be doing something completely different. I'll be learning how to sew. I'll be looking into accounting classes. I would be looking into homesteading things. I would be looking into farming. I'll be looking into a whole bunch of other stuff than playing sports and hanging out with my brother and his friends, or trying to hang out with my friends. I would have went down a different path. But when you grow up, especially when you grow up with a brother, you compete. And you don't get out of that mindset until you really get into a marriage and your husband is like, bruh, I'm not your brother. Like, you can't compete with me. So it's like, you have to have, number one, you have to have a man who has leadership in him. Whether he's cultivated, whether he knows it, whatever. If you see it in him, if you see that he is cultivating, reading his books, taking classes, all of these different things into becoming a better man, that's who you want to go for. It's like, we look at men and want them to already have the 6 figures, want them to already have all this stuff, when in actuality, most people don't get that until their 40s and 50s. So if you're in your 20s and 30s, unless you're getting a man that age, you're going to have to build up this man. So you're going to have to compete him. And it's like, for a long time, like, I was subconsciously competing with my husband because I wanted to be like him. I wanted to do the things that he was doing. I wanted to speak how he was speaking, but I can't. Because biologically, that's going to stress me out in ways that I'm not ready for. It's going to produce more masculine energy in me than what I need. And it causes anger, it causes confusion, it causes frustration. So it's like, if you're angry all the time, it's because you're sitting in your masculine energy. If you're confused all the time, and I'm speaking to the ladies, if you're confused, if you're frustrated, it's because you're sitting in your masculine energy. And it's like, okay, you may have to for right now, but you can also figure out, okay, well, if I have to go to work, when I come home, how can I sit in my feminine energy? And that's really like what the first chapter is talking about, is knowing your role as a wife. And if you're not married and you plan on being married, knowing your role as a wife, knowing that it's not 50-50, knowing that you're not splitting the rent, you're not splitting all the bills. Everyone will have their role, and that's something that is either discussed or is inherently known in the beginning of the relationship. So know your role, look at the relationship you have with yourself, and look in the mirror and really, really look at yourself and say, who am I really? What energy do I really exude? And it's like, you might have to ask someone. You might have to ask those closest to you. No, you can't just follow anyone. And it's like, I did an interview with Lloyd Strayhorn, Numbers in You, on YouTube. Definitely, you guys check it out if you haven't. And one of the comments that was like left after the show was over was, women shouldn't be following you. She was speaking about me, if I'm going to have them being submissive to their husbands and giving up your dreams. That's not what I'm saying at all. When you submit to your husband, and he is a man and not a boy, when you submit to your husband, your dreams will come true. You are not giving up your dreams. I can tell you that right now. You're not giving up anything when you submit to your husband, and he is a man. He will make sure that all your needs, wants, desires are fulfilled. But you have to submit to him. It's If he needs whatever waiting for him when he gets home, if you have to go take him whatever that looks like, that's what it has to be. And there's no excuse. It's like, that's what I'm really, like, there's no excuse. No matter if the car's on fire, there is absolutely no excuse. So if you're a wife, look at your relationship with yourself. Look at your role. Are you acting in a feminine way? Are you acting in a masculine way? Also, when we're arguing with our husbands, that's acting masculine. There's ways to resolve conflicts. There's always solutions without arguing. That's something that I'm learning. And luckily, I have a husband who will calmly talk to me like, calm down. My voice has not went up an octave. Your voice has gone up 8. Bring it down. So it's like, that's what guidance is. It's like, we as women, and don't want to admit it, but we need guidance from men, from strong men, not boys. We need guidance from men. So first chapter, really looking at yourself and looking at the role that you're choosing. And being a wife, you have to act in your feminine, or else it is not going to work out. It's like this. I recommend every woman to read this book, because it's not just good for your marriage, but it's good for relationships in general. It'll have you reevaluating all of your relationships and how you are in the relationships. It really puts accountability onto yourself, because as women, we do not take that accountability. We let the feminist movement that has engraved itself into our DNA lead us, and that really has what led us astray in the first place, is that we are not equal to men. Men are not equal to us. We cannot biologically be equal to a man. They cannot biologically be equal to us. So transgender, whatever, there is no biological equalness. So if you're a woman and you're looking to be married, how are you acting in your feminine energy? How are you choosing your roles? How are you acting in your roles? How are you fulfilling those roles? And ask your husband, are you fulfilling his needs, his desires? Because I promise you, if his desires and needs are met, and I guarantee you they're probably basic, you're going to be happy, because he's happy, and he's going to make sure that his wife is happy. So with that being said, I'll come back with chapter 2 tomorrow. Again, the book is called You Can Be the Wife of a Happy Husband by Darien Cooper. She's a little old white lady. I don't even know if she's still alive. But it's like, she really starts off the book. It's like, if your marriage or your relationship is not perfect right now, she starts off the book that way, because her and her husband were married for 15, 20 years. I think their children were almost grown by the time she came to this realization. So it's like, if you have a woman who's 20 years in, they made it work for those 20 years, and it was bad from what she was saying, everything can change. All you have to do is actually fight. It's like, and she says it's literally a fight every single day, because we are constantly, especially if you're constantly learning and evolving, your partner has to go with you. So with that being said, I hope everyone has a great, I don't know what today is, Friday, I think. Peace, y'all.